everybody, welcome in the air on CricTracker. मेरा नाम है निवेदना प्रभु. Of course, we're discussing everything to do with the England-India Test Series और of course हमारे experts भी है हमारे show पे. लेकिन अगर आप कोई questions उनको पूछना चाहते हैं, please feel free to send that in. क्या होगी India की strategy to come back in terms of players? अगर आप कुछ भी पूछना चाहते हैं, we will have both our experts on the show today, so feel free to be sending those in. लेकिन what really will happen for Virat Kohli and company today, which is very crucial because of day 3, जैसे उनकी performance गई है कल, not very impressive. So we'll of course continue talking to do with all of that. So let me get on our first guest on the show, Pratyay Tiwari, who joins us back in the studios. Or Pratyay, welcome back. How is day 3 looking for you?
Well, yes, as we were even discussing after the match yesterday, that KL Rahul and Pant have now got a responsibility because of all the wickets that have fallen. So I think it's going to be crucial for them. Again, the first hour will be crucial because of the overcast conditions and the clouds. So they will have to be watchful, and will have to probably emulate what Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul did on day 2 when they just got in.
Okay, so of course that's debatable in terms of performance for Rohit, but of course KL Rahul over there going strong. लेकिन बात करते हुए, let's call on our second guest, of course, who is a cricket coach as well as cricket analyst, Rakesh Deva Reddy, joining us back once again. Rakesh, great to have you. I see that you are bleeding blue. Of course, still rooting for India, but how's day 3 looking like after how yesterday panned out? Quite disappointing. We didn't have you yesterday to talk about it, so let me get your first thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit disappointing because the way both the openers gave a good start and India couldn't capitalize that. But like I always say, Pujara, generally when Pujara bats, I think all the bowlers in the world, they just try to ball the best balls, and they try to really deliver the best balls when Pujara is batting. If you look at the ball which he bowled to Pujara, the Anderson, it was a wonderful ball, and getting Virat Kohli out on the right next, I mean, right after Pujara got out, that was a great breakthrough by the senior fast bowler. And we were also talking about the battle between Anderson and Virat Kohli. So the first battle, the first one has been won by Anderson, but let's see how Virat Kohli comes out in the second innings. But putting that away, now, like how Pratyay was saying, it is really going to be very important for India on day 3 how Rishabh Pant and KL Rahul plays, and then later on Jadeja and Shardul Thakur. But India should try. Yes, India should try to look at least putting some lead on the board, at least from something around 80 to 120. Otherwise, it is going to be really tough for India, looking at the current scenario.
Right. I mean, of course, looking at the current scenario, what is going to happen, only, of course, time will tell, because the most important aspect, like we always talk about, is unfortunately the weather playing the 12th man in this game, which also kind of disrupted yesterday's game. So let's quickly take a look at the weather for today, the weather forecast. There, of course, you do have it being mostly cloudy. So I'll come to you, Pratyay, on that. हमने बात किया है about the weather, making a big difference. Also, yesterday was quite frustrating, not just for fans, but also for the players themselves to be playing in those conditions. But looking at day 3, going into a new day, and the weather, what are you expecting?
Well, now the thing is that we lost about a good 50-60 overs of cricket yesterday, and that is a lot. And now with the over rates not being that great, even I think that, and there is still forecast of rain on the upcoming days. So I don't think that we will not be losing overs. We will. And even if they try to kind of make up for that, the overs, I don't think that they would be able to make it up. So it's the best chance for the teams to try and have a go in whatever chances they can, and try to have a result on the table if possible. Now again, with the overcast conditions, now the ball also will, as we were even discussing in the pre-show, and Rakesh also pointed out yesterday, as was even pointed out by Sanjay Manjrekar on the commentary, that overs 45 to 60, there has been a mysterious tendency of the Dukes that it starts to swing a little bit more than usual. Because if you see the ball, it has a tendency, it starts to swing after 10 overs. When it's new, it does not swing. But it starts, and then later on from 45 to 60, you will also see a bit of swing. And then as it gets more old, it will start to maybe even reverse. So I think that all these things are that what the batsman will have to keep in mind, because now these two batsmen, as we are continuously talking about, KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant, they have to ensure that they try to build up some sort of a partnership, because we have lost, India has already lost 3-4 wickets in quick succession. So if they can maybe rebuild a bit and then give a bit to Shardul Thakur and Ravindra Jadeja to kind of build onto that lead, it would be great. So मेरे ख्याल से यही अभी फिलहाल इंडिया की अप्रोच होनी चाहिए तीसरे दिन की शुरुआत.
Okay, talking about Right. Talking about the current situation and of course what the approach should be. If we could take a quick look at the scorecard as to where they finished off on day two. And Rakesh, मैं आपसे आना चाहती हूँ इसके बारे में. आपने in terms of क्या expectations है from the next two, of course, like KL Rahul continuing, and of course over there having Pant come in. Because the reason why I want to take a look at the scorecard, because one comment that is coming from Nisar is that it's pretty harsh, but it says they won't cross 200. Do you see that happening?
I mean, it is possible because everything can happen. It's going to be a new day again. Here, Rahul have to forget that he has some 57 runs on behind him. He just have to forget
Yeah.
that and he has to start it right away from zero. So anything is possible, and how the ball swings in that particular span, 45 to 60, that is also going to be something which is going to be very interesting to see. And most importantly, India have lost all three quick wickets. I mean, Pujara, Rahane, and Virat Kohli. All of them got out in a quick succession. So it is going to be
Right.
really a great, not a great, but it is going to be really a big responsibility on the shoulders of KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant. There is a chance. You never know. There is a chance, but what I feel is the way how KL Rahul is really handling or really dealing with the situation is looks like he doesn't want India to get into any bad shape or any bad position where India gets all out in another 20-30 runs. I think it is possible, but very minute chances. But India, what I feel is India can definitely cross some 200 and put a lead. At least what I'm expecting is at least 60-run lead. India can get that 60 because India have two more other batsmen who can really bat well.
But the bigger question, of course, is if the English bowling attack does not get them like how they did get the other batsmen. So before we come to that, let's take a quick look at how Indian batsmen have, of course, performed in away tests, because this match, of course, has shown in terms of not so great performances. Whether we're talking about Rahane's run out, of course, that Pratyay did, analyze yesterday. But apart from that, if you were to talk about Sharma, Rahane, कोहली as well as Pujara. Pratim, मैं आपसे आना चाहती हूँ in terms of the numbers and also with the kind of performance. What is going wrong?
Well, see, now if you're seeing at the numbers, all the averages are not the way you would expect. These stature of players, जिस तरीके के नाम है विराट कोहली, अजिंक्य रहाणे, इनसे आप उम्मीद करते हैं that they would be averaging closer to the 40 or 50 mark. But this is too low. I mean,
Yeah.
19, 20 and 30s. अगर आपके मध्यक्रम में इस तरीके के एवरेजेस होंगे तो शायद आपके लिए मुश्किलें बढ़ने लगेंगी, जो कि अभी इस मैच में हमको देखने को मिला है, जहाँ तक अगर भारत की हम बात करें तो. I think approach has to be in terms of not looking at these numbers, because see, these are not those numbers that are going to give you confidence. आप इन numbers को देख करके कुछ भी इसलिए नहीं निकाल सकते क्योंकि ये numbers आपको प्रोत्साहित नहीं करेंगे कि आप जाकर के और ज्यादा runs बनाएं, क्योंकि ये सीरीज
Correct.
बहुत लंबी है and you have too many chances left. But at the same time there's also one point that they need to take care of कि क्योंकि ज्यादा chances हैं का मतलब ये भी नहीं है कि वो शुरुआत के chances गंवाना चाहेंगे. जितनी जल्दी
Right.
आप रिदम में आ जाते हैं ऐसी सीरीज में उतना ज्यादा आपके लिए फायदेमंद होता है, क्योंकि जब 2018 का दौरा था इंग्लिश का, जब भारत गया इंग्लैंड और 500-600 रन वहां पे विराट कोहली ने किए, तो वो कंसिस्टेंटली वो रन आए थे. और अगर वो कर सके तो उसके पीछे उनकी वो मेंटालिटी थी कि हर मैच पे वो रन बनाने के इंटेंट से बाहर निकले और दिखे. कल के गेम में जो एक कल के गेम में एक जो परेशानी थी वही कि उनकी पुरानी प्रॉब्लम एक सामने आई, दैट ही हैज बीन ट्रबल्ड इन दैट ऑफ स्टंप चैनल and he was again troubled there. So I think that going forward into the series, this is an alarming sign for him early on, so that he does not make these mistakes. Because of all the batsmen that we were seeing just on that graphic, Virat Kohli's average was the lowest of all. So that is a bit surprising.
Right. So, in terms of course, Virat Kohli captaincy performance numbers, हम थोड़ा, थोड़े detail में जाएंगे. We cannot not discuss that because, like, we did mention about in terms of that pressure for captaincy is also there. But Rakesh, I also want to ask you the same question, right? If you could take a look again at those numbers quickly on the screen. Who are you most, let's say, as a cricket analyst as well, most disappointed in terms of performance? Yes, I mean, consistency is one thing for a sports person, but with the way Pate also spoke about the caliber of these players, and also that comment, I mean, not everybody takes Manjrekar seriously, if I may say so, but having said that, in terms of what he said about Rohit Sharma as well and the kind of performance, because of the fact that we're talking about the test format, do you think those days are over for him, or is that too soon to tell?
One interesting thing is if you are looking at that graphics, if you see
Yeah.
Rahane, Jara, Rohit, and Kohli. But what the
Yes.
news is going around the world is everybody is criticizing Rahane and Pujara. But
Pujara. Yeah.
yes, but the numbers here shows that Virat Kohli has the least average and least number of runs among all these four. But just putting
Yeah.
that aside, but like for to answer your question, I think it is. I mean, there's no question about his skill. There's no question about his approach towards the game, because most of the people who are watching this show might have watched the interview between Dinesh Karthik and Virat Kohli. He's a guy who doesn't want to give up. It is just
Yeah.
that, and one innings. I mean, one inning, just that one inning. The way he got out, that is something really which is questionable, because he has got out in the same way to the same bowler in the same conditions in the same country in the previous past. But in 2018, he came up with a good approach, or maybe he has done a lot of good homework, and he really scored a good number of runs, and the average was very very good. 70. I mean, he had 70 plus average in that 2018 tour when India toured England. I think it is
Right.
too early to decide how Virat Kohli is going to play the future games, or I mean the rest of the games in this tour.
In
It
terms
is
of, Rohit Sharma, what would you like to say? We'll get into a little more details about, Kohli, because I also want to get both your perspective about the captaincy aspect of it. But for a player like Rohit Sharma, because he performs really well, this conversation has been going on in terms of his ODI and, T20, of course. But when you see it in the test format, do you think there's something that's really troubling him or going wrong? Or do you think it's just another bad patch, basically?
So I think he was absolutely playing really well. I mean, I don't think anybody will be having any problem with the way how Rohit was playing in the first innings. It is just that he's a senior player and he has a lot of experience in white ball cricket, and he doesn't have that big experience under his belt in red ball cricket. But still,
Yeah.
with the experience he has in the white ball cricket, he can still convert that experience into. I mean, he can still get use that experience while he plays red ball cricket. And with the conditions yesterday, how Rahul and Rohit was playing, I don't see any problem with Rohit Sharma's batting or anything. It's just that he couldn't really connect it well. If you look, I mean, many of the people who are watching, if you get a chance, please go back and watch the way how Rohit got out was. It didn't really connect the ball right from the middle of the bat, and the time he was hitting, I think it was he was trying to keep it down, but it was too early. Otherwise, if he was trying to hit it really well, it would have gone out of the boundary line. It's just that he got it. But I don't see any problem with Rohit Sharma's batting. That is
Okay.
absolutely not a debatable thing, I guess. Even it might sound a little weird, but I don't
Yeah.
see any problem with
I know,
Rohit
in a
Sharma.
realistic, probably manner, right? But
Yeah,
like I think
because
how
it's just
everybody was pointing out.
the thing is, uh, we just analyze the way how they bat, but the important thing is we have to really look into the technical parts as well when they are batting,
Yeah.
because it was. I mean, it all depends on the angle of the bat when you are really playing the pull shot and hook shot. He was expecting to play. I mean, he was expecting the ball to come in a line or length or height where he can really pull it. But at the
Correct.
last minute, the ball bounced up and he had to hook that. Otherwise, he could
Right.
have hit very well.
I think this conversation also happens because of the fact of that World Test
Yeah.
Championship final loss. And I think coming back into the same English conditions, because I think yesterday when, we were discussing, we would have loved to have you at that point to be talking about the fact that Lakshman did speak, VVS Lakshman did speak about the fact that he felt like India had corrected their mistakes from the World Test Championship final loss. And I happen to tell Pratyay that's probably, a little too soon a statement, because in the bowling department, they might have fixed it, but the way they collapsed again in yesterday's match is pretty much the same cycle. And I think that's why the debate is happening about, what's happening to players of this caliber. But on that note, let us take a quick look at the England bowling attack, which of course have managed to trouble the likes of Kohli, Anderson, of course, in complete form. Pratyay, मैं आपसे आना चाहती हूँ. Do you think we're going to see Anderson make that 2 into 5 probably?
Well, definitely we can. He has a lot of 5 wicket hauls, perhaps the most for any pacer in the Test cricket history. There's no reason why he will not pick wickets. If someone has got 619, he is of course going to take more. But
Yeah.
I think that yes, challenge is not for England bowlers. It is all now going to be here from at least for day three. I think that the narrative should be built around what India is going to do with the bat, because I think
Right.
that this today will actually decide a lot where this Test match is going to go. Because if KL and Pant can actually add on to something like a 100-run partnership or something which gives India a chance to have a lead of say a 70 or 80 or even a 90, it can
Yeah.
push England a little bit. But if they succumb the way the England batsmen did, then it becomes a bit of a problem. Also, to just to touch upon that point that Rakesh made, he rightly pointed out that it might sound a little bit weird, but I completely agree with the fact that all the discussion around Rohit Sharma is that if you see in this match as well, there are three middle order players who have managed what just single digit scores, and one of them has been a golden duck. And yet you are questioning a man who has still who has bide his time in the middle, who has played 107 balls, who has still got a partnership of 97 up the order, and has still managed to get those 38 runs. So I think that the issue around Rohit Sharma is about conversion. And for now, India would be focusing more on what KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant have got to do than what has been already done by the batsmen who are already in the pavilion now.
Right. So I think, like I did initially point out, I think the conversation is pretty much because of coming into that, after that final loss. So they probably feel like they would have corrected it over a period of time. And like you also did speak, that collapsing is, you kind of predicted that if, they do collapse, then it's pretty much out of India's hands. But like you said, let's see how they're going to rectify that, because I have very enthusiastic fans over here. I'll come back to you, Pratik, where Nihal has said that Rahul's going to make 100. Rishabh Pant's going to make 50 plus. So great to say that, they are expecting both of them to be, changing the game. Yeah, coming back to you.
You made a fair point. I think you mentioned about Rohit Sharma being a fantastic player in the white ball format. I think that to mix that thing with what Rakesh was saying, what happens is that he's an instinctive puller. He's someone who knows who's known for pulling the ball well. When that ball came, when that delivery came, it probably was a kind of a scene where he probably would have wanted to leave the ball, maybe if it was just a little bit high, or he could have maybe ducked in and could have simply left the ball. But because he's such a good puller of the ball, it comes sort of instinctively from him that he wants to pull it, and then he can bring those fielders back on the backward square or fine leg into the play. I think that I personally feel that when batsmen get out in these 30s and in these 40s, they should be more worried and more disappointed than getting out on zeros and fives, because you're doing everything that you're needed to do. You're going inside, you're having a look at the conditions, you're understanding what the bowler is trying to do, getting a hang of the situation, doing what we call the hard yards, and then wasting your wicket. So I think that it should definitely disappoint him. But again, we are continuously talking. This is a 5-test series. There's no dearth of opportunities.
There's a lot more to see.
There's a lot more to see. So let's not write him off just yet.
The professor is basically saying that, I will pull up players if I have to, but I'm going to let Rohit Sharma go on this one. But before we wrap up, I really want to talk about one thing where we cannot really discuss about the current form, Virat Kohli as the captain is in. If you could take a quick look at what that stats is looking like in terms of most ducks, over there by an Indian captain in test format, particularly. Rakesh, looking at those numbers, not a record that he would have liked to have. How do you view this?
So tell me a great batsman who has never got out on zero. There are a lot of great batsmen who have got out on zero. It is just that when there is a player, not just in cricket, it may be football, basketball, any game. If there is a player who really, conquers the game, and if he doesn't perform, then everybody will trying to
question
everybody will be trying to pull all the bad performances he has done in the past, but nobody will pull out what are the great performances an athlete or a player has done. So these are all absolutely maybe because of the social media, people just want to have something to discuss. So these are those kinds of things. I don't think Virat Kohli will really worry about that. He has got the highest number of zeros in zeros playing for India. It is now the important thing. What Virat Kohli will focus is how to leave the balls which are slightly pitching. Yeah, leave the balls which are slightly pitching outside the off stump. How to negotiate the swing? How can he get each and every ball right from the middle of the bat? Once a batsman get a ball right from the middle of the bat, then he is going to get that confidence. So that is something which he will focus on his batting right now than focusing on what he's done in the past. So all those,
of course, I mean, that we totally get, as a cricket coach also, you would want to encourage people to not look at those, like a bad face is like it's the end. But I think another reason why, we would potentially even have that conversation, because Kohli has been really vocal about his 2014 England, tour as well, where he did give that statement that he called up Sachin Tendulkar and, to get that advice to kind of get out of it. So, because he's also been very vocal, where you also talk about how cricketers have to be mentally strong, right? Like the game aspect of it is different. Is there something that's going wrong? He seemed very confident in that interview with Dinesh Karthik, like you said. He does know where things are going wrong, but that same mistake to be repeating, like we do talk about the battle, but everybody's, of course, captaincy is one aspect of it, but to be expecting a century from a player like Kohli is quite natural, right? I mean, I don't think people would not expect him to be scoring.
Absolutely. I mean, people want him to score runs. Even, I mean, anti-Kohli audience also would love to see Virat Kohli scoring century, which helps India to win the Test matches, especially in these
Yeah.
kind of countries where India plays against Australia, India plays against England, because that is
England.
something which really even the board also takes it so prestigious. So everybody would love to see Virat Kohli playing and scoring centuries. And about the
Yeah.
mental aspect, I would like to add another point. In the
Sure.
interview itself, Virat Kohli was telling that he doesn't want to make a mistake what he has done in the past. The only thing he really focuses, he doesn't want to get that mistake done again. And if he can do better than what he was doing with that mistake, then that is what which makes him a satisfied player. I think he'll be definitely really coming up with a good plan how to handle Anderson, because Anderson is a guy who has a lot of experience, not just in international. He plays county games even now. So he's also an aggressive bowler who really wants to be there on top of the game every time. So it is going to be
Yeah.
really a good battle again. We're going to see such type of things, and we can expect Virat Kohli getting out to Anderson in the coming next 9 innings as well. In the 9 innings, we might see him getting out another couple of times. If Virat
Yeah.
Kohli doesn't get out to Anderson in the 9 innings, then we can really or proudly say that okay, this guy has done a lot of homework after getting out in the first inning. So Virat Kohli also wants to do that homework in such a way that he really doesn't want to get out to Anderson again, because he likes challenges.
Right. So we still have four more, matches to go for him to probably come back and, kind of rectify that, like Rakesh has said. But that's true. I think whether you do like Kohli as, cricketer or captain, that's of course debatable individual choice. But at the end of the day, the kind of cricket that he, of course, plays, Rakesh said, even if you're a Rohit Sharma fan, you would still love to see him actually, score that 100. Before I wrap up, I want to ask Pratyay this question about middle order में Sky को लेकर आना चाहिए second match में चेतेश्वर पुजारा replacement. This we know our experts always say कि अगर कोई perform नहीं कर रहा है तो उनको replace कर दो is the first thing. लेकिन प्रत्यय मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि do you think of course in the context of the series going on, Sky will get that opportunity?
See, we might see him, but I will not drop Cheteshwar Pujara because simply number three spot is his. Is I would not say that he owns it or anyone owns any spot in the team for
Yeah.
any of that matter. But I think that you do not want to make yourself look too desperate. If you suddenly drop a player of this caliber, what are you trying to send as a message across? That you are worried, you are thinking too far ahead in your head, or maybe you are thinking कि हमें इतने बड़े बदलाव करने की जरूरत पड़ रही है, and you are bringing in a batsman. Of course, Surya Kumar Yadav has played loads and loads of domestic cricket. He's an experienced campaigner, but he has not traveled the world. He's still, this is his first tour, maiden tour of England, and he will be making his international debut. He might get a chance if there's an injury or something of that sort. But I think dropping Pujara would be a massive statement, and I don't think that India would want themselves to make themselves look as vulnerable by dropping him. So that would send a wrong message for me. I would not drop Pujara.
Okay, Nihal, we hope that answers your question. Rakesh, yes, if you would want to answer that.
First thing is both Surya and Prithvi are not available until the third test starts. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing is ruled out. We can't see Sky getting a chance in the second test. And the other thing is, before the test match, Virat Kohli in the press conference was talking about Cheteshwar Pujara, saying that he is a kind of a player. He can really rectify his mistake, what is going wrong, how can he score runs. He is a player who really requires his own time and his own. I mean, you need to leave such kind of players to get back into the form. So it is clear message from Virat Kohli saying that they are backing Pujara. So I don't think they'll drop Pujara. And to add to more to that, like Pratyay said, if you are dropping such kind of player, then it is something you are not believing in your team balance as well. Because you need Pujara to have that balance. You need Pujara kind of batsman who can stand at one end and just anchor the innings and make the other batsman job easy.
Right. So I think, to put that in a nutshell, what both of you are basically saying is that at the end of the day, that patch, that rough patch is bound to happen to any sports person, like Rakesh said. Of course, in this context, we're talking about cricketers, but with the kind of performances they've had over the years with their international career, it's pretty natural to be expecting them to be consistent and, to keep
So
performing in
just
every job. But
to in a way sum it up, you can simply say that even Pujara is allowed to go out of form. He has scored
Yeah.
truckloads of runs. He has bailed you out of the trouble so many times. He has almost
yeah,
been
so you
towards
can cut him
7,000
some
runs. So
slack.
you can, yes. So he's
Yeah.
allowed to go out of form.
तो
He can
अगर
have rough
हमारे शो
patches.
पे प्रोफेसर बोल रहे हैं कि पुजारा को थोड़े दिन आराम से उनको मतलब जब तक वो फॉर्म में नहीं आ जाते you can let him breathe a little. Well, that's a great way to look at it, because of course you also have other star performers where they can rise to the occasion, sometimes.
True.
And we did see that even in the Sri Lanka India series where Deepak Chahar came out of nowhere and took it,
Yeah.
on his shoulders. So there is no question that, there is talent, but in terms of consistency, of course, we'll have to wait and watch. And like both our experts say, there's so many more matches to go. So, whatever mistakes they're making right now, of course, they will try to come back and rectify those. And of course, in terms of predictions, both of them have said 80 to 100 is what they're pretty much looking at to kind of add so that Team India can get out of that little trouble that they're currently looking in. But on that note, I want to thank both of you for coming on the show. But
But
Rakesh, if you would like to add something before we wrap up.
that 80 to 100, I don't say it as a prediction. I will say it as a wish to see India
Okay.
getting the lead, because
Fair enough.
there are all possibilities of England wrapping Indian batting lineup because of the conditions, because of the ball, and because of the situation India is in. So there are two ways. It is a wish that we can see India getting some 80 to 120 run lead.
Okay, so the analyst is calling it like it is, saying that as much as I would like for this to happen, the fan in me would like for this to happen, but the analyst in me does not think so. But that's how we do it out here. We give you what is the real deal, right? But on that note, I want to thank both of you for joining us on the show. We will see all of you, on day 3 post match. So don't forget to join us. Until then, of course, stay tuned to CricTracker for the latest news in the world of cricket.